Yes, on the surface, it really looked like there was a conflict within the ruling of Judge Soriano. On one hand, he says that Proclamation 572, which voids the amnesty on Trillanes, is legal and constitutional. On the other hand, he refuses to issue an arrest warrant. Now, one is supposedly the result of the other, or one is supposed to cause the other. But in this case, the judge is saying no.
Yes, this is what Judge Soriano did. At the very first paragraph of his decision, he said, the Supreme Court has ordered us to determine the factual issues in this case. But at the same time, he said, we will not practice judicial modesty in the sense that while we were mandated to decide on the factual issues, we will also go and decide on the legality of the proclamation because the Supreme Court has given us the authority to look at everything on the table and to decide accordingly. Okay. So it did just that. So there are three levels to his decision. The first level is the constitutionality of Proclamation 572 in itself, by itself. The second level is the determination of factual issues, whether or not an application form was indeed filed and whether or not Senator Trillanes was indeed admitted guilt. On the third level is to determine whether or not he can actually overturn his previous order of dismissal. So these are the three levels that he looked into. And these three levels can be looked at independently from each other. So when it looks like that the determination of the constitutionality of Proclamation 572 seems to be in contradiction to his refusal to dismiss his order, we see that actually, if we look at it, we can separate the three. It shouldn't affect the other, one or the other.
But in this particular case, the judge is saying that the president, yes, he can withdraw amnesty.
Yes. What he said was that the president has the power to issue such a proclamation based on his ordinance power, which is his power to declare executive orders or presidential proclamations. He can. But that is limited only with respect to the particular instance in the proclamation, which is number one, Senator Trillanes, and number two, what the officers under the executive branch can do.
The ad hoc committee.
The ad hoc committee. And not just that, you remember in section 2 of the proclamation, it said, all AFP and PNP members, you are authorized to do everything lawful to, again, detain Senator Trillanes. And by lawful, it means that, well, it's a different animal when you talk about being lawful because you now have to go to the court or the judicial branch. That is exactly what they did. So in that sense, within the realm of the executive, within the realm of the powers of the president, it's perfectly valid. But now that we go to the court, it's a different story altogether.
Okay. I ask about that in particular because in this case, if both judges say that the president can withdraw amnesty, whether it's amnesty through the ad hoc committee or the DND committee, any DND committee, then that should apply, and that could apply to any amnesty in the past or in the future.
Yes. So as I think as Justice Guevara has been saying, this is not the end of it all. Yes. You know, this is just the start. So it means that if the president issues proclamations for the other members of the Magdalo group, then basically Judge Soriano is saying, yes, he has that power. But whether or not that will result in the extinguishment of criminal liability or the reimposition of charges, it depends on each and every case.
Yeah, I mean, this was a very specific case, and therefore any victory here was also very specific to the circumstances of Senator Trillanes. But in the bigger picture, on the question of whether or not the president can order the voiding of an amnesty, doesn't the second part of his decision also destabilize the entire climate by which many people were granted amnesties?
Does it disturb what has otherwise been a scot-free life for us, so to speak? It can be viewed from in two ways. For those who view it with concern because Judge Soriano actually upheld the validity of the revocation of the amnesty, if they tend to look more of it like that, then it's a cause for concern. In my case, I'd like to view it more from the perspective that applying the same ruling to my situation, I expect the same outcome. Because precisely, I'm in the exact same boat as Senator Trillanes, except, of course, I'm not as vocal and as visible as him in the opposition. But outside of that, actually this ruling by Judge Soriano is is very reassuring for me, viewed in that sense.
But that, I mean, the premise there, as you said, is that you are in the exact same boat. But theoretically, the signal to the administration as well could be, look, you had every right as executive, as chief executive, to order the voiding of anybody's amnesty. But, and this pertains to the factual findings, you should have done your homework better. That was pretty flimsy. Theoretically, couldn't anyone, let's say in the Justice Department, the Solgen, or the Malacanang, basically say, okay, we have another crack at this, galing-galingan naman natin, mga bata, o, medyo ano yun, and then they don't put you and the other people in the exact same boat. Theoretically, that can happen, and you know, a case can be made. Look, the government has the power to void your amnesty and other people's amnesty, and no, it will not be the exact same boat.
Well, actually, the problem with the government, let's assume that they would take another crack at this issue using different individuals who also similarly availed of the amnesty. That can be said, but I'm trying to view the horizon and try to see this from where they could attack. But if that was as far as they could go with, you know, making the application, amnesty application disappear, I don't know how else they could attack this amnesty. Because, well, all of us, I assume, have a copy of our own amnesty certificates.
You don't have to worry about application forms anymore.
I don't have to worry about application forms because precisely the court said that you can adduce secondary evidence, which in this case, the court said clearly that the state or the prosecutors were not able to overcome. So the very basis of the proclamation was actually faulty. Now, let's say, going by your premise that maybe the president will issue another proclamation, and he has all the right to do so, to revoke the amnesty of others similarly situated, but this time using other basis. To me, that's the problem. If I myself, who's been very intimate with this case, because I myself have gone through it personally, and with some, you know, meager knowledge of the law, I really cannot see how else they could attack this issue using other basis other than what's already been used against Senator Trillanes.
I don't understand. Are you saying that you agree that the president does have the right to revoke amnesty?
I'm only going by the parameters of the ruling.
Yes, of Judge Soriano, yes.
Yes, of course, it can be gainsaid that that could change because the Supreme Court ultimately, who will be the final arbiter in this issue, may have a different view as to the validity or lack thereof of the amnesty revocation.
Okay. We'll